this morning, I guess I was complaining about stuff I saw on social media last night. Somebody was like, quit this, quit complaining, you know? And they're right. So I did. Now I'm off work. I didn't got my exercise. I'm in a better mood. I'm tired, but I'm happy. I don't seem happy, but I am. Thirsty. Hot. It's not really a problem. It's a sort of relief. Today's over. There's no more work to do. Done. Off work. I don't ever know when I get off work. It's just like when the job's done, you know. But now, like, the question's answered. I know when I'm off work. I'm off work now. I know how much time I have for the rest of the day. So I'm happy. I'm in a good mood. I'm too tired to go running or something, but I'm not completely exhausted. It's been hot outside today. So we went to the hood. He said it wasn't really like that bad. It wasn't like what Homer described. Now, as far as trash being everywhere, he's right about that. Dirty diapers thrown everywhere, he was right about that. But it wasn't like the most like ghetto gangster hood or anything. Right now is this little black boy that's probably 2, 3. He come and played football. We threw a football around with him while we was cleaning up. His mom was on the porch and his little sister went to get him and he was crying when we left. It was me, Gabe, Zach, Tony, Aaron. B was there for a little bit. So there's like 5 grown men there that he can play football with. And he probably doesn't get to do that. Probably just, you know, his sister and mama probably play boring stuff like, let's have a tea party or sit down and be quiet, you know. Women can't really play with a boy like a boy needs to play. He's more rough and tumble play. You know, he was so happy. He was crying. He was mad when they was carrying him away, though. I'm at this caution light. Hey, Wade. Hey, Ravenheart. My bus drive is 2 hours long to go home. It's super hot. I felt like I was gonna pass out every day. That's my job. Like almost every day, I feel like I'm gonna pass out. We would pass out sometimes if we didn't take breaks. Like you cannot be on the hot roof all day long. You know, you would pass out. You would have a heat stroke. So we'll work about 2 hours or so, then get in the shade, get some cold water, cool back down, and then go right back. We go to work as soon as we can because we don't want to be there all day. We want to hurry up and get it done. But at the same time, you can only push yourself so far. In the winter time, though, that's pretty awesome. You can get a lot done. You don't overheat. You just work more, and now you're not cold instead of working more and passing out. This guy, he's doing his little lights to let us know the cops are ahead somewhere. That's legal. It used to be some local places tried to make it illegal, but it's covered under the First Amendment, freedom of speech. Some court upheld that. I could see how they could ban it because they're like, well, you got freedom of speech, but you're saying there's an emergency when there's not, or I don't know. But yeah, you can do that. You can flash your lights and say, hey, they up ahead. Sometimes people do it way too early, though. You're driving about a mile before you see them. I don't really see any cops on the side of the road. He put his flashers on, but ain't nobody breaking the law anyway. My bus driver, I already read that one. We put up 400 yards of gutter today. We tore down 400 yards and put up 400 yards. It's a good bit of gutter for. It was a brick apartment complex. Sometimes the heat takes more out of you than the actual job. Sometimes if it's hot enough, you can get tired just from being in the heat. Brittany's at work till 7. Why she gotta be at work till 7? Till 7? And I guess she's just used to it. Back when she wasn't working and I was working, and I was working 12-hour shifts or 10-hour shifts. She was talking about how she was so bored. I got her a game, got her puppies, tried to get her stuff to do so she wouldn't be so bored. And now I don't even like waiting the 2 hours from 5 to 7 for her to get off work. I don't like it. Even if we're not talking to each other, even if we're just in the same room, it's better. And I was a loner a lot of my life, not all of it. And I like there's a snake going across the road. I didn't run over. I tried to miss him, and I did miss him because he didn't look poisonous. He looked like a king. Oh, that other truck is not getting over. We probably got run over. Maybe he missed him. If I see a king snake, I don't want to run over it. I want it to kill the rattlesnakes. Or an oak snake. I can kill an oak snake or a rat snake or a corn snake. And he was like, normally when they hit that road, they warm up and they can move really fast. And he was moving fast, but he wasn't moving fast, Like he was doing this fast, but he was barely moving on the road. Like he was stuck. What kind of work does Brittany do? She works at my mama's restaurant as a waitress. Mama's got a restaurant called Lori's Dive-In in Alamo, Georgia, across from Circle K that used to be Flash Foods. It used to be Lori's Beauty Shop. She turned her haircutting business into a restaurant. Got tired of cutting hair. When we were growing up, she didn't have nothing like that. And now, like, a lot of people just assume that, which Mama's owns the business, not me. But now, like, I've heard some people say, I bet they told Brittany and McCray, I bet he grew up with a silver spoon in his mouth. No. I'm the oldest of 7 kids, and my mama was working at the Dollar General. She has a restaurant now that I'm 38, almost 40 years old. But she did not have that restaurant when I was a kid growing up. And Daddy, the job he's got, he didn't have that when he was in the Air Force when I was growing up. With 4 kids at the time when he was in the Air Force. What kind of work? Yep, she's working for Mama. They like her up there. Because she's a people person. She likes to talk to people and cut up and joke and everything. In Wheeler County, the other side of the county is missing its sign. I don't know if the storm blew it down or somebody stole it or what. But what's that deal where you've got the Wheeler County sign before you cross the bridge and another one after the bridge? Should Telfair move our sign? We need to move that more that way. Are they trying to move up and take part of our county? Oh, we got 2 of them. I know there's like a diagonal line where it's kind of weird, where some houses you think would be in Wheeler County are really in Telfair. And I guess it zigzags across the road where some on this side of the road are, some aren't. I don't know how it works. Best hamburgers at your mama's restaurant, a great place to eat. It really is a great place to eat. It's not a great place to be a cook at because you got so many different things to do. But if you want to eat, you can almost get anything there. You can get tacos there. You can get fried cheesecake there. You can get you a pizza, get Mexican cheese dip your pizza in the Mexican cheese dip because they got, both things. You can get a Philly cheesesteak sandwich. You can get, sometimes she makes different specials and stuff. But I think I've got to where I've just about ate everything you can get from there. I've probably got it. them barbecue. Brittany got some barbecue ranch tater tots with cheese on them. It was pretty good the other day. And I didn't want to eat too much of them because I thought she'd want them. And she said she done got them 3 times and is tired of them and I could have all of it. It's good if... Yes. Yup. I don't know why I was in a little bit of a complaining mood this morning. Oh, I know why. I remember because last night I was arguing with someone on social media. They're like, why do you even care? And it's like, well, because of the money that comes out of my check. Because I pay for it. And I don't, you got to pay for some things that you don't really want to pay for. That's just how taxes work, But it's really, if you... I would like to stay out of the foreign wars myself as much as possible. I do know, like in Machiavelli's The Prince, he's right, the point he makes that if you're neutral in a conflict, you really are just siding with the stronger power. And then when the war is over, both sides are going to not like you. Normally, that's how it works. Switzerland is like an exception. People just sort of expect them to be neutral. But they used to always sell their services as mercenaries for everyone because they were so fortified up in the mountains. They weren't really worried about blowback or invasion. And they had the famous Swiss pikemen because they trained themselves as militias in Switzerland. It was like French and German and some other, like 3 different people kind of all come together to make an independent state. Why am I talking about Switzerland? What was I going to say? Just about being neutral in general. It's nice to just like stay out of wars and none of your business. But if you think that the weaker side is in the right and you don't help them, you're really just helping the stronger power. They're benefiting by you being neutral more than the weaker power. So if 2 countries are fighting, not from a moral standpoint, but just from a practical standpoint, you kind of want to be on the side of the winner when the war is over. So if you think, well, maybe I should side with this group, but they're going to lose no matter what, you'd come off better to just stay neutral or side with the other power than side with the power that's going to lose and then the other side's mad at you. Nations can't really be friends with other nations. They can pretend, but they really have to follow their national interest. And people all the time don't expect countries to follow their national interest. They'll be like, wait a minute, we helped you back then, why aren't you helping us now? And I say, well, it's not in our interest. We got to think about our, cost of food and whatever else. And so I don't really like my tax dollars supporting never-ending wars in the Middle East. I don't like my tax dollars supporting abortion when we're already in danger of population collapse and a labor collapse. It's really sinister how they done this, like the places where people are starving with super low IQ, they didn't tell them they're overpopulated. They're like, hey, you can't feed yourself. It's in the country where we got morbidly obese, poor people. That's the place that they say we're overpopulated. How are we overpopulated? We got space, we got food. We're not overpopulated. It's a lie. They just told Americans and Europeans, you're overpopulated, until they thought, dang, we're overpopulated. We need to have less kids. Then they're like, look, we're going to have a population collapse. There's not enough of us. We need to bring the third world in. That was the plan the whole time. Bring in the third world that doesn't feel entitled to gun rights. Bring in with the third world that's not used to having a freedom of speech. And just, I don't want to get back into complaining, but I'm just saying it's just just really evil the way they done us. They told us we were overpopulated when we weren't. Then when we were below replacement levels, they kept saying it. Anybody that said it was a problem like me, everyone called us crazy. No one even considered it till Elon Musk said something. I'd been saying something for about 15 years before Elon Musk said something. Then they're like, shit, maybe we are headed toward population collapse. All the data showed it forever. You know, it's been that way for 50 years. I noticed it 15 years ago. People, it's got to the point to where when you turn on the news, it's not are they lying, it's how are they lying. If they're telling the truth, what are they leaving out? How are they misrepresenting this information? How are they framing this? You know, it's always been that way, and it's always been trusted, and I just can't understand it. I can't understand how you could do all the research yourself, you could have all the facts, you can present them to somebody, and if they haven't heard it on the news first, they'll just reject it. They're like, you believe everything you hear. And then later on, when it turns out you were right, people won't remember that. They'll just be like, oh yeah, you know. So, well, I've been saying this for 15 years. Well, you couldn't have known it. The news just said it today. My brother Josh, he used to tell me, he's like, Paul, the average person is dumber than you think. And I was like, no, they're not. People aren't that dumb. And, you know, as time has went on, I've learned my brother is right. It's not just me. It's like my family has above average IQ. And that sort of skews it. Like, that sort of makes me think that some very basic, simple things that I think are, it's like Brittany told me last night, what you think is common knowledge or common sense isn't. I'm trying to remember what it was. It was something just so, it was something to do, the English language. This African American woman was trying to claim that not only was she Native American, but the Native Americans spoke English in America. And white folks stole those letters in that language. And it's like, we could see English before, we had a written language before English existed in England. Like, we could see Beowulf. We can see English, we can go back further than that, when English looks like French or German, and we can see it change over time. We were writing it down. We have the whole history. We have Shakespeare. We have the King James 1611 King James Version Bible. It's like, we know English come from England. Come on now. Can you really be that ignorant that you don't know this? Could you really believe that we just stole English from some Native Americans in America? Like, and she really believed it. And then I scrolled 3 more down on Facebook, and they were saying that it's white supremacist to use big words because some black people in urban areas don't have access to education. And this is absolute hogwash bullshit. Like, you can get a government phone, get online and look up the dictionary. You can go into a public library and go read a dictionary for free. You can, while you're at public school, I don't care if you're in an urban area, rural area, rich area, poor area, you can go in the public library, there's a dictionary, you can read it for free. So it's just like, okay, which is it? Like, and I know it's not the same person. People do this a lot, like, conservatives do it to liberals. Liberals do it to conservatives. You'll take like 3 different liberals that said something and say, you're contradicting yourself, liberals. You said this, but what about this? Or the conservatives, this or that, but it's not the same person. You know, the same person that's saying it's racist to use big words in the English language isn't the same person that's saying y'all stole English from us. But it's just, no matter which way, it's different, but what's the same is, no matter what, if you're white against black people and keeping them down somehow. I made a joke about it on Facebook. I was like, yeah, I remember in school, all us white people used to, form a line in front of the dictionary and hold all the black people back and not let them read the dictionary. It's just total bullshit. The more I hear rabbis talk, it said I'm live. It hasn't been live this whole time? What, did it lose service? The more rabbis I hear talk, the more I realize why people had a problem with them. Trying to justify sex with a 3-year-old in the Talmud. Dennis Prager over there trying to, and he's supposed to be on the right. They're never going to let you have a society with strong morals and traditions. And because they need the nation to be a host of a parasitic class. That's why, they don't want it in their country. Heck no, they don't want all that in their country. But in all the countries that the Jews occupy, they push this super liberalism. You need to be accepting of everything, so you'll be accepting of us moving in, us draining you of money, us ruling over you, and us telling you everything about your people is wrong. And they do it everywhere they go. Wherever they go, there's the host nation. The host nation will be demonized. Their traditions will be demonized. They'll be pushed to be as liberal as possible so that they'll let the other groups in. And then they'll push to open the borders and bring as many different groups of people that cannot unite and work together as possible. And they'll form a coalition of them and use them against the host nation. Meanwhile, they are, the Jews, they have an extremely in-group bias. Black people have an extreme in-group bias, but if you think they have an extreme in-group bias, wait till you meet the Jew. Extremely an in-group bias, extremely tribalistic, extremely nepotistic. You think Indians are nepotistic? Practice nepotism? Wait till you see how Jews are practice nepotism. They're always going to pick somebody in their family over somebody not in their family. Meanwhile, and this is the really crazy part, all they can talk about is everybody else is racist. And there's no way to be more racist than to be a rabbinical Jew, to be a Talmud following Jew. There's nothing more racist, not even in Nazi propaganda, will you find anything as racist as the Talmud. I mean, and you can find some super racist in the South, but they don't claim that black people don't have souls. That's what the Jews do claim, that the non-Jew doesn't have a soul. That he's an animal in the shape of a human, that it's okay to kill him, that it's okay to steal from them because they're your property anyway, that they're only meant to be your slaves. And so you start realizing, it's they know the liberal progressive stuff's bullshit, but the useful idiots don't know it. You got a bunch of white women that just believe every bit of it. They think they're opening the border for charity. They don't know that they're opening the border to destroy the country. They don't know that the end game is the genocide of our race and people. That we're labeled as Amalek, and they want every single white person on the face of the planet dead that's not a Jew. They don't tell you that. They don't know that. They just think, shit, we got to let these refugees in. And they believe when they brought about liberalism and this whole idea of equality and liberty, they knew it wasn't true. And you can read about it in the protocols where they're using it as a means to get rid of the authority of the Christian kings so that the banking interest can take over. But they tell the people, we're looking out for your freedom. These kings oppressed you. We're going to liberate you. And it was really just this we got to get you out of these handcuffs so we could put you in our handcuffs. And so it's just they're turning the water up on boiling the frog. And there's just more and more stuff to where it's I would have been quiet. I wouldn't have said anything. I wouldn't have wanted to hurt anybody's feelings. I would have kept a lot of my opinions to myself. But it's just they've pushed me too far to where I got to start saying something about it. It's just from an outsider looking in. You say you were everybody but who you were. Is there a reason for that? Is there a psychological reason for that? And I've got some ideas on that. Why there's the identity crisis. And then it's like these things I read, it's like the thing about you stole English from us. You got to remember that only 20% of these people have an IQ above 80. It's like there's a good chance that by yesteryear standards, you're mentally retarded. Like you just really, it's just a way, like you can't even, there's no point. There's really no point of arguing. There's no point of, if some people, just let them have it. Just let them believe it. Let her believe that the Native Americans spoke English and that white people stole her language. Just let her believe it, because it's probably not worth it. It's probably a waste of time to argue with her. And this is something that's not taught to teachers ahead of time, Like I'm going to go in this inner school and raise the literacy rates. And it's kind of bad that they did lower the standard from 85 to 70. Because, like 80% would have been diagnosed as mentally retarded. But then it would have been a lot harder to bring the other lies later, And people wouldn't have felt like they were oppressed and robbed. They would just realize, oh, that's why. That's why there's no 2-story buildings in this giant area of the world. That's why there's no written language. That's why there's no will. It's because their average IQ is retarded. And then there's the other things too. Like I tell you, like there's the hormones are different. Asians tend to be more estrogen based, Africans more testosterone, and white people in the middle. And there's other things besides just solving puzzles. Like the average IQ of the Asian is greater than the average IQ of the whites. But whites have more retards and geniuses. Asians just kind of clustered a slightly above average IQ. They kind of all are around there. And so they can normally pick up on the ideas of our geniuses and copy them, but they're normally not the ones that are the innovators. A lot of the things that there was a fad going around where they tried to give China credit for everything, and then they find out, oh, Western Indo-European people with chariots made contact. It's not. I had somebody trying to tell me one day that the Chinese invented spaghetti. And look, egg noodles and Italian noodles and pasta, it's not the same thing. It's like, they had noodles. They did not have spaghetti. Oh, my back hurts. Oh, this morning, me and Brittany were very sleepy. And she's a sweetheart. She normally gets up, like while I'm getting ready, while I'm putting my clothes, get my billfold keys and all that. She normally makes me coffee. And she was sleepy, so I told her not to worry about it, let her sleep, and skip my coffee. And she's got the coffee she's got the water already in there, the coffee already in there, so I can make me some coffee. You see that? I'm going to flip it around. See? She already got water in there and coffee in there. I don't know what it means. Hey, Troy. Look, you got Ravenheart and Troy Ortez at the same time. Those are two of my subscribers. And Wade, too. Wade was on this chat earlier, and Brittany. Probably most of my comments on my videos come from Ravenheart and Troy Ortez. Meow. Oh, there we go. There's a little bit. Jumping in front of the camera. You want some attention? You've been trying to get attention since I walked in the door, huh? There is a little bit. He come barking. He's like, you won't pay attention to me now. It's cooler in here. The air conditioner's been going, but I left the door open. Let me shut the door. And now, Right, it's showing two people watching again. I was saying that Troy and Raven, those are the ones that I get most of my comments on my videos. Been supporters from the very beginning. Wade Purvis, him too. He comments a lot on my videos. I know him personally, and I thought you want to get down off the bed. What? You want to get down? Here I am hot, and I'm making me some coffee because I want the caffeine. I don't know if you're saying now, Neo, now. You know, some people lie about their age because, you know, all my videos say made, when I go live, I always say not made for kids. Some of my videos could be for kids, but they're not made for kids. Some of them don't have any cussing in it or nothing, but I never know. You know, I never know. I never know if somebody might walk up and say a cuss word, or I say one, or I never know where my mind might go. Or so just to play it safe, I always say it's not made for kids. But I noticed, because I set my subscriber thing to public. I used to not have it that way, but I done it that way because I figured, well, now, at first I didn't do it because I didn't want people to know what channels I subscribed to, just in case, because I subscribed to all kind of stuff. And but then I realized that some people have theirs public, and when they subscribe to me and theirs is public, it lets me know who they are, where I can find them easy and subscribe to them to return the favor. And I was thinking, well, if I put mine public, every channel I subscribe to, people can see my channel and have a link to my channel from there. So I decided to do that. And so I was looking at my subscribers that are public. And, you know, my channel is not made for kids. You're supposed to be like 18 to be able to see it, I think. And I was watching one of them boys' channels on there, and I'm like, there's no way this guy's 18. So it's like a child lying about their age so they can have the YouTube or something like that. So then I'm like, oh, Lord, what have I said and seen and watched? And then it's easier for me to hurt an adult's feelings. Come on a little bit. Than hurt a child's feelings. I'm not trying to put the weight of the world on a child or whatever. But there's only so much I can do about it. You know, I do click the it's not made for kids. Come on, come back in the house a little bit. But, you know, some people lie on their channel because they want to be able to watch the adult channels. They're a kid, but they say they're 18. And so one of my subscribers, I subscribed back to them. I looked at their channel. They're probably 12 years old. And so also there's some things that I talk about that I know are true. Like I know 100% they're true. And there's some things I talk about that I'm not sure. And I like to make that distinction. So this is something I'm about to say. I don't know if it's true or not. I just know when you go back and you're reading history and you go far back enough, it doesn't matter what nation you go look at their history. Once you go far back enough, it starts to get magical. It starts to get, they don't have a materialistic mindset or a scientific mindset. And they view everything from magical thinking, superstition, religion, you know. So like, let's say I got really angry, you know. I just got super pissed. And I just kicked something and broke it, right? I would just say, I got angry, I lost my cool, I broke something, right? Well, some of the ancient people a long time ago, they would, that whole experience would be different. They would say, a god possessed me, a demon possessed me, like God of anger swelled in my soul and I did so and so, or there's a lot of not taking personal accountability for emotions. Instead of saying, well, I had an emotional outburst, it was like, well, a demon, an angel, of God, this or that. And when you read, there's poems, there's epic poems, and there's a kind of a argument where some people believe that it was meant to be a history. And other people say, well, it was always known that it's just a story and it's history mixed with exaggeration. We don't really know, but they write their histories. All these nations write their mythological histories as if they're writing a history, not as if they're writing a fiction. Yet the things that they write about are so bizarre that we just don't accept that it happened that way. It's like they say there were giants. And we're like, well, that's got to be bullshit. Or they're like, there were gods ruling. There were demigods. There were dog-headed people. They say all kind of things in the past. There were Cyclops. There was Medusa, So when you go so far back in history, what's history, what's myth, what's legend, what's lies, what's a fictional story, it's hard to tell. So that's what I'm saying. I said all that to say, take this with a grain of salt. But when you go back far enough in history, and that it is mythological history, it's said that the kingship come from Cush. And we're talking about way back a long time ago. Well, I'm talking about like the days of Nimrod. Think Tower of Babel. Think the Table of Nations, 70 nations, where your main cultures are in Pakistan, Iraq, and Egypt. You know what I'm saying? Like way back then. You got Elamites in Iran. There's other people I could mention, but you know what I'm saying. You've got the Hindu Kush civilization. I probably said the wrong river. I probably said the wrong name for that. In Pakistan and India, there's a river on the border. You got a civilization based around there that seems to have gotten destroyed and pushed into India and in Iraq and Egypt. During that time, there's this legend that a son of Ham, a son of Cush, a Nimrod, conquered the 70 nations. So this is like way back. This is, before all your supposedly all 70 nations were ruled over by a black king. And he ruled from India to Ethiopia. And the first kings were blacks, sub-Saharan African blacks. And they ruled, and they were replaced by, your Middle Eastern type people. These Shemitic people, the descendants of Shem. And then, they had their period and day in the sun. And then the descendants of Japhet come to power. So I'm not saying that, and I kind of believe it. I don't know if it's true, but I kind of believe it. And it said that they was very oppressive of the other nations, very cruel. He would have sex with your wife before you did and make a child. So imagine this. Imagine you're going to get married to your wife, but before you can have a child with her, the king gets to have a child with her first. Then you have your other children. Then that child of your wife and the king, from that comes the nobles that rule over you. That's how Nimrod had this set up. And so I think that there's like a sort of a karma, a sort of you reap what you sow, and there's just the crown doesn't pass forever. So it's my theory, and this goes all the way back in mythological history. So I'm not saying it's this way for facts, but I kind of think that's the way the world went. In the beginning, the sub-Saharan African people ruled the world, and then it transitioned to the Middle Eastern type people ruled the world, and then it transitioned to the European people ruled the world. And I think that nobody stays in the sun forever. Everybody has their ups and downs. And there's been a lot of population bottlenecking you can see in different populations. And you need a certain amount of genetic diversity within a population to keep it going. I think it's like 600 breeding pairs. Some people say it could be done with 500 breeding pairs. So, like if you had like 5 or 6 families and they go start an island somewhere, you might have normal people for a while, but eventually you're going to have a lot of genetic diseases. You're going to have, be about like incest, it will be eventually, the race will become too incestuous. And then you'll have a decline in IQ. And I think that's what happened. You read about the Egyptians, the brother would marry his own sister. They were trying to keep the bloodline pure. The royal families of Europe trying to keep the bloodline pure. Same with the Middle East. So I think you have these civilizations, they come to power, they hold power, and eventually they get the feeling that they're gods, everybody else is regular people, and nobody's good enough for them except themselves. And they start inbreeding. And as they inbreed, they lose a lot of genes out of the population. And another thing that happens is they start to become more aggressive and their IQ drops because of the inbreeding. Like you see this in Pakistan. In Pakistan, they marry their cousin as a tradition. And so you got 40 generations of marrying your cousin, you get the rat people. You can look up the rat people. It's a type of deformity from incest. Their face is kind of drawn out. Maybe it's not the nicest thing in the world to call them the rat people. Maybe they could come up with like another name for it. There's the ostrich people too. They got the feet like an ostrich, 3 toes. But I'm not saying that Africa's all inbred like that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about the line of the kings, because there's actually a lot of racial diversity in Africa. There's a lot of different races in Africa. Like you would think French, Italian, Korean, Japanese, they're all black, or they're not all black, but in the sub-Saharan Africa going down, most people are black, but they've got a bunch of different face shapes, a bunch of different nose shapes, a bunch of different heights, a bunch of different, and if you DNA test them, you realize there's a lot of diversity there. There's a lot of different peoples on that continent, not just like we lump them all together, but they're not one race. They're a bunch of different groups of people. But I think there's various reasons for the difference in IQ. One is that for a long time, Africa had so much game. It's just so easy to hunt there and get food that you're kind of playing life on easy mode. You don't have to plan to save up for the winter or anything like that. I think that's part of it, but I think I don't think it's set to always be that way. I do think the IQ can rise and low. The IQ in the Western world is going down. It was going up and up and up and up and up from the Middle Ages to like the 50s, and now it's just been going down. Part of it, I think, is hormone disruption. Another part of it is atrophy. I think we have so many tools like the internet. Like people's memory is atrophying because you don't need memory because you can just Google it. So I think that's part of it. But for whatever reason, and people don't really know the reason, all of Western civilization, IQ goes up from Middle Ages to the 50s and then it starts to go down. So our IQs are going down. And so like right now, the Congo has an average IQ of 65. And that's 20 points below what used to be the cutoff for retardation. Now it's like 15 points what's the cutoff for retardation. So you average the whole IQ of the Congo, and it's 5 points below 70. So their average IQ is 5 points below retarded. And if you would have been back in the early like 1700s, 1800s, they would have said that 85 was the cutoff for mental retardation. And you would say these people are 20 points below average retarded, But those people, like, that is not playing life on easy mode at all. Congo's got a lot of child soldiers shooting each other. It's where the Stone Age and the Information Age meet. Like you can be in the Congo and go from a hut made out of shit, like actual shit and grass, and then walk out of that mud hut and see somebody with a smartphone shooting at you with the AK, high on cocaine from the USA, listening to rap music from the USA. It's a bizarre place. Everybody's fighting everybody. Everybody's killing everybody. Chaos, famine, disease, and they're all fighting it out. But if you're going to survive there, you're going to have to get smart. If you're going to win against all the warring factions, you're going to have to get smart. And whoever's the winner out of that conflict, they'll probably have an edge. And even if they don't have an IQ edge, they're going to have some kind of edge. You know, the world's always changing. Things aren't set in stone. And it's the same with humans. Everything's always changing. So people get too prideful and people get too secure. Nothing in human affairs is stable. So if you're at the bottom, don't despair, because you might be about to be at the top. And if you're at the top, don't oppress people and be so mean to people at the bottom, because you might be about to be at the bottom. And I can see this happening with the Europeans, because even though we have an average IQ 20 points higher, it's not looking good at our population demographics. And as we have less and less children and we have less and less genes in our population, it can lead to a very bad situation where our IQ is already trending down. And it's not going up. It's not leveling off. It's going down. So who knows, in 100, 200 years, we might have an average IQ of 65. But we don't right now. I really probably should have paused this video, quit live streaming, look up the other information I was reading last night before I made this video. But I'm not trying to just be mean. I'm not trying to put groups of people down, right? I'm not doing it for meanness. I'm not doing it to put anybody down. I'm just saying the truth of the matter, because it plays into the conspiracy that I'm talking about here. You know, Ashkenazi Jews on average have an average IQ of 116. So I'm saying they know that the things they say are lies. They know what I'm saying is true. But they don't have the goodwill that I have. Like where I'm saying I want everybody to do good. They don't. They want everybody to serve them. They want everybody to be their slaves. They want to destroy the West. So keeping that in mind, I'm saying that's why every country with an average IQ of 100 or higher has negative birth rates right now. That's by design. And every country that has an average IQ of 100 or above is being flooded with people with average IQ between 65 and 80. And that's by design. This is what I'm saying, right? Let's say they kill Amalek, like they say. They say white people are Amalek. They get rid of us. Let's say they're successful, right? All your 100 average and higher IQ people gone, out of the way. Ain't got to worry about white people now. Who's the Jews left with? You know, and they put all the blame. They were the ones doing the main players of the transatlantic slave trade, the main players of the Masons, main players of the Bavarian Illuminati, main players of the Dutch East India Company, the British East India Company. You know, they're all Jews, right? So what happens when they get everybody to blame the white man for all the slavery, even though it was the white man's idea to bring about freedom and get rid of slavery? Everybody had slaves. Everybody enslaved everybody, right? They put all the hate on us. They make us into a minority. All the low IQ races are super happy to see us down. They're super happy. They feeling very good about themselves to see us down. They hate us already. Now we're outvoted. Now they vote reparations. We already are the net taxpayers. We already are the slaves. We are already paying on average $750,000 per lifetime per black. But now we got to give them even more. And there's even less of us. Now we can't afford to have kids at all. You know, and then they start openly killing us because, you know, we're the evil white devil. We're the white supremacists. We're evil. You know, meanwhile, the Jews don't believe anybody has souls but them. They believe everybody's made to be their slave, and they want to build their slave world, right? They call us Amalek. They call us the warrior race. They say we're in the way. Let's say they get rid of us, right? And you look in America, there's no white people left. You look in Europe, there's no white people left. And who's there now? People with an IQ ranging between 65 and 80. And the Jews have an IQ of 116. Like right now, Jews are only like, there's like 98 white people for every 2 Jews, you know, or something about like that, you know. But imagine if we're gone. And I'm telling you, they have an easy enough job manipulating us. They have a very easy job. Like, you know, if they told black people tomorrow they were Vikings, they'll believe it. Oh, they done that. If they told black people they was the Native American, they believe it. If they told black people they was the Hebrew Israelites, they believe it. If they told, you know, like, just say, I just don't. And it may be that the strong in-group bias, like that's the thing that white people don't really have, like a lot of, like there's racial differences. And that's one of them, that whites are more friendly toward out-groups than other races are. Whites are more likely to want to go trade with somebody else, talk with somebody else, hang out with somebody else, accept somebody else, adopt things from other cultures, you know. But imagine, you know, we're in the way. They'll have an easy time ruling over everybody else once we're gone. I mean, a lot of things would be back to the. I don't know. Like, there's things that I really believe are true, and there's no way to say those things without seeming like a dick, seeming like an asshole, seeming like a pretentious hater, seeming like the bad guy, seeming like the white devil they try to make us out to be. But I mean, I'm just being real, right? Like, I'm just gonna say it, right? It's back to the mud huts without us. It really is for a lot of people, not everybody, but for a lot of people, it's back to the Stone Age. If we are gone, if you get rid of the 100 IQ population and replace it with 65, 80, it's back. It's all gone. And they're talking about destroying the West and pivoting to Asia. Why? You know, North Asia's got an average IQ of 105. This is something you're going to get through all school and never be told. You will never be told this. You'll be told everybody has the same potential. Everybody's the same. And if you don't have as much as the next guy, somebody oppressed you or kept you down or something like that, you know. But there's another thing too. You're like, if you are, that's what I'm saying. Imagine though that it takes thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years for your people's average IQ to move from 65 to 100 on average. You know, someone's going around 120 IQ, whatever, some lower, 7, whatever. But on average, 100 IQ. Imagine it took nature 10,000 years to do that. And now they say, you know what's a good idea? Go have children with somebody with a 65 IQ. Is that a good idea? Is it? Isn't that a lot of progress lost? You just think, like, how come right now the ADL, who is it? There's this Jewish Anti-Defamation League. At the same time, they're crying about Jews marrying non-Jews. They're like, this is horrible. We need to stop these Jews from marrying. They're calling white people racist. They're like, you need to, there's actually government subsidies for non-whites to move into white neighborhoods. If an area is too white or majority white, the government will pay part of your rent if you're not white to move in. Why? Because you're going to breed with the people around you. That's why. They want to make there not a single white neighborhood anywhere. And they want us bred out of existence. They want us killed, have less kids, be gay, be transgender. Or how about just have a child with somebody from Somalia? You know what I'm saying? Now, I know there's no way that I can say this and it not come across racist, because it is, but it's not hateful. I mean, it's true. And it's talking about race and it's talking about differences in race. But I'm not saying it from a place of hate. But I do realize it's not some schizophrenic harebrained theory. There is an organized effort for white genocide that's being carried out by Jews on purpose. And I'm aware of it. You know, they're genociding the Palestinians, but they want to genocide Europe too. And I remember before it even started, before they started bringing in all them Syrian refugees that are all men of military age, no women or children, into Europe, right? There were several Jews that were talking about how they were pushing multiculturalism and that they were going to be resented for it. And then they do it. Jewish names behind all of it, all the advisors, they push it out. And then when white people start to say, hey, you're doing this, they say, oh, that's a white supremacist trope, crazy conspiracy, it's not happening. The audacity of these people, they straight up come out and say, before World War I happens, they say, you're Amalek, you're the warrior race, we're going to destroy you. Then somebody says, oh, you're trying to destroy us, we're not going to let that happen, Germany for Germany. They're like, oh, you evil person out there, you say that nonsense. Then they do it with the European Union. It's really wild. It's really wild. Because they're like, we're going to push for open borders. They're not going to like it. And we're going to flood them with all these other people. And they do all these subsidies, rent subsidies. And then they're like, oh, the whole Chase Whitey down video was just some hateful white supremacist propaganda. It doesn't have to. There's nothing hateful about it. There's nothing white supremacist about it. Nobody said, I don't say that Europeans or white people are superior to Congolese people. I do say our IQ's higher than theirs, and that's factually true. So you can either say, like some people I know, some people go the route of every single study done in Africa, all the different racial IQ maps are racist propaganda. But I mean, they have tried, I swear, they have tried to bring those scores up. Every year they send more people over there to try to change the map. But it's legit. It's just the legit truth. It's not hateful. It just is what it is. And that's why when you go to the Congo, you're not going to see Silicon Valley there. The average IQ 65. All right. But like everybody in America, they don't know this. They think that if somebody would have just went over there and educated the people in the Congo, their IQ would be 120. And that's not how IQ works. And so they don't think about these things as being an issue when it comes to open borders. And if you bring up the issue, then you're the bad guy. And that's by design. This getting white people to be so afraid of being called racist has taken away white people's ability to self-defense and to exist as a people. You have no defense against your whole country just being given away to someone else. And and I think that I don't really know what my purpose is. I don't know what the purpose of my people are. I don't know what the purpose of other people's are or whatever. But I don't think it's going to be good for the rest of the world if we go either. So it's like, if we go, like pretty much every city in Africa has been built by white contractors. Who's going to build them cities? Pretty much all the clothes they wear has been donated out of the generosity of white people, out of the goodness of their heart. They've just given Africa free clothes and given Africa so much free clothes that almost everybody clothed in Africa is wearing Western clothes. Who's going to make the clothes? Like, I see where some people are like, well, white people are at the top. We hate them. We want them destroyed. But you got a plan for when we're gone? Who's going to come fix that well? Who's going to come dig that well? Are you going to do it? Are you ready to do it? Because everywhere you've kicked the colonizers out, you haven't maintained nothing. All the railroads, all the roads, all the build, like everything's just falling into disrepair and falling down, and then it hasn't been rebuilt. And I think there's some stages you can't skip in development, where you try to help somebody, but you're not helping them. You got to let them just adapt and get there the hard way. Like, it's a double-edged sword. On one hand, we fed and clothed Africa. On the other hand, try being a farmer or try making clothes for a living when so many people are giving away the stuff for free. You can't make a shirt and sell it and start a business when Save the Children Christian Fund done dropped 7 pallets of free clothes in your village. This isn't the kind of content I planned on making, and it's not the kind of content I really want to make. It's really not. I'm just basically killing the time. But I'm just kind of triggered. Because it's like, we've just shook it off. There's been a lot of very dumb, very low IQ, very 80 to 60 range IQ takes all over social media, and white people have just ate it. We've just took it. We didn't say anything. We knew it was dumb. We didn't call it out. We made an excuse for it. We accepted it. I'm tired. I'm tired of it. I gotta say so. But I don't want to. It's just, I know this has got to be boring to watch if somebody watches and hear me repeat myself, just because I'm seeing 0 1 watchers, 0 2 watchers. I'm like, maybe it's a new person that didn't hear the other. But I'm just saying that you can only ask so much. And it'll get to a certain point. There's a tipping point, I don't think that we're all the way asleep and are just going to sleep until we're annihilated. Maybe that's going to happen. Because I saw people dumb as fuck during COVID. It might just happen that way. We might just go away without a whimper. We might just fade away. But eventually, it might not happen that way. You might wake a sleeping giant, Because you don't know it. Like, a lot of y'all don't know it. Y'all are thinking y'all are being oppressed. But there's all kind of grants for y'all. My people get discriminated with diversity hire, not your people. My people get disproportionately taxed. Don't take as much out of the system and put it in for the rest. It's like, when we're all working together as a society, y'all need us. We don't need y'all. Y'all cost us $750,000 per person. If we didn't have to pay that, we could have bigger families. And then what would you do without that $750,000 in your lifetime of government assistance? What would you do? What if one day you push us too far and we just don't care anymore? You push us so far. We can't even afford to have kids. We look over at you having 8 kids, all paid for by our money, and then you tell us that we're oppressing you and we're not oppressing you, and then you tell us we can't speak English because it's cultural appropriation because we stole English from you. Like, how far do you think? Like, I know y'all can go like in a fantasy delusional land and believe you're Vikings and believe whatever. I know that. But how far do you think we'll be able to go along with you in that delusion? When we read Beowulf and we read the 1611 King James and we're speaking English now, like, how far do you think you can push us? Because I know how far the Jew wants y'all to push us. He wants y'all to feel like you're fighting for your homeland, that you're indigenous to this area, that we're evil and we're the oppressors, and that we're the ones that need to be killed. And he's got you thinking the Jews your friend. You know, the Jews like, we've been persecuted along with the blacks. It's so crazy that they own the slave ships. They brought the slaves here. They managed most of the slave plantations. And then when they get ready to destroy the country, they say, "Oh, we've suffered as a minority just like you. We're on your side against these whites." And then they made a bunch of cultural Marxists that feel that they're entitled to food stamps, that are going to vote wrong in almost every election and vote for the party that enslaved them. Quality outdoes quantity. And it get to a point to where, you're probably better off to be with 20 other of your own kind in the middle of the woods than strapped to the debt and burden of all the rest. I mean, we could do it again. I mean, it don't matter. It don't matter if it's the outback of Australia. It doesn't matter if it's the untamed wilderness. It doesn't matter if it's the Great Plains. It doesn't matter if it's the Ohio River Valley. It doesn't matter if it's the Arctic Circle. It doesn't matter if it's North Africa. It doesn't matter if it's South. It doesn't matter where we go. We've got it up here. We've got it up here to where we can go anywhere on this planet and start over and build such a great civilization, everyone will want to follow us and be there. So why are we still like in this covenant? Let's all be Americans with everybody. What's in it for us? We just get destroyed. We just get used. We just are like a dog with a bunch of ticks on our back. How healthy would we be if we just remove the tick? Just remove it. Just don't accept all this Messianic Jewish bullshit. What if we just built states for our people? What if we didn't worry about the rest? What if we didn't feel obligated to? What if that's their responsibility and their job? And then what if they would have to take personal responsibility? What if they had their own nation so they couldn't blame us? What if they had their own nation and it went to shit and they still blamed us? Well, you should have gave us that part. We could trade with them. We could give them the good part, take the bad part. Our part would still be better. Because we'll just take personal responsibility. We'll shoulder the load of the work. We'll just get to work building and just build it again. And I don't think we're going to do that. But I'm thinking there's the threat of that happening. You might wind up pushing us so far one day. You start drinking so much blood out of us. Push us so far. Make us carry the load of everyone else. Make everyone else way more entitled and not pulling their share. And have them say that they did it all. That we stole it from them. They didn't steal it from us. We can go build it anywhere. We can go anywhere and rebuild it. They don't. They either got to have what they have over there. If they want to have the standard of living we have, they have to live with us. They all fight to come live beside us. It's like, they're like, damn, you're abusing us if you don't let us live near white people. We have to live near white people. Why? Because they can't do what we do. They can't do it. Now, that's probably the most racist thing I said, and I stand by it. They can't, or they would. Why? If they could do it, why wouldn't they? And now, if it's because we're keeping them down, how are we able to keep them down, but they're not able to keep us down? Like the lies they tell, if you were to follow the logic of those lies, it would lead to a situation where they're claiming inferiority and claiming we're superior to them. Like we somehow managed to go to work and come home, never have time for nothing else, and still somehow keep everybody else down and pay the taxes to feed them at the same time. I mean, for a society to function like it does, it requires a lot of lies. It requires playing along to a lot of lies. It requires a lot of pretending. But what if we snapped out of it and woke up and stopped pretending and just called a spade and we acted as if reality was reality? What would actually happen? And But the reason everything goes so smooth and everything works the way it does is people agree to follow the lie. There's this mass delusion. Like, so many people are delusional and have to stay delusional to keep this system going. And it costs a lot of money to keep the delusion going. It costs a lot of money to pay people to lie. It costs a lot of money to put political pressure on people to lie, to cause the penalties, like to have the jail time, the censorship, everything. It takes a lot. But, it didn't cost me nothing to tell the truth. A little bit of courage, but that's it. But if everybody started telling the truth, like really tell the truth, like, how many black women got raped by white men in 2008? 0. How many white women got raped by black people in 2008? I forget. It's tens of thousands. And what if we just started telling the truth? Like, who's oppressing who? Who's robbing who? Who's killing who? Who's stealing from who? Where's the tax money going? Who's paying the tax money? Who built what? Who really invented what? Who keeps inventing what? Like, somehow we got beat down to where we're the most sickly, frail, hate ourselves people, carrying guilt, not proud of ourselves, don't feel the right to exert ourselves. We don't exhort. We don't we don't try to dominate. I don't understand it. How do we conquer the whole world and then just get all like shy and get like, what do you call it when you got no backbone? How do we just become pushovers? How do we conquer the whole world, build the modern world? I'm talking about Germanic people, French people, British people, invent just about everything that there is. Beat everybody and then be so scared to say the truth. How did that happen? How did it happen that everybody starts to whisper when somebody comes along and just whisper what don't? How did it happen? Why do we make so many concessions? Why do we act like we're so weak? Why do we act so afraid? Like, and I just don't know. I don't know what happened. I don't know why we don't value our fathers' blood and sweat. Our fathers bled and sweat so much to make this land claim so that their future children could have it. And then we decided we're just going to give it to everybody for free. I do kind of think it's over for white people. There's white people that'll see the truth. There's white people that'll say the truth, but most white people have no survival instinct. They don't see themselves as a people. They don't see themselves as a culture. They don't think their culture is worth preserving. And they're just going to do whatever the Jew wants them to do. They're going to bend over backwards for the Jew. They're going to give the Jew everything they have. They're going to let themselves be genocided. They're going to be like, we got to feel bad for these people. Let's let them have our country. They're going to be like, well, we can't be seen as racist. Let's interbreed with people with IQs comparable to the great apes. So nothing will go wrong there. So what if my grandchild has an IQ of 80 instead of 120 or 70? So what? At least I'm not racist. And I used to be, I'd hear somebody say something like that, I'd get angry. I'd be like, how dare you say that racist bullshit? Because I didn't know it was true. I didn't know about the IQ disparity. And then a lot of the things that our great-grandparents said that we thought was just like hateful and evil, it just makes sense. Do you want to lose the progress of all of your ancestors? Like, it took thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years to become what we are today. Do you want to throw it away? And for what? So that the other people that already hate you will say good job? There's nothing you can give them to appease them. Because if you integrate the schools, if you integrate society, if you interbreed, if you do everything for them, now you're still racist because you used a 3-syllable word. You're racist no matter what. So eventually it gets to the point, why? Why give so much? Why bend over backwards so much? Why coddle everybody's feelings so much? No matter what you do, you're still the evil white man no matter what. Why not be the conqueror then? Why be the diplomat at this point? No matter what, you're the bad guy. Why not just be the warrior race? Why not just be Amalek? Why not just be that? You're going to be considered Amalek no matter what. The Jews, every generation, are going to be working to try to destroy you as a people. Why be afraid to be called Hitler or a Nazi at this point? They're going to call you Amalek no matter what. Jews are going to publish all these things talking about how bad white people are no matter what. We did everything for the Jews in America. We give them Israel. We let them suck all the money from the Americans with fractional reserve banking to build the state of Israel. We fought World War I to take Israel from the Turks, to give it to the British, to give it to Rothschild. Then we fought World War II because the Zionists were mad the Jews wouldn't go to Israel to get them in Israel. And now we're going to fight World War III to give them greater Israel? I'm just saying, they're going to call you Hitler no matter what. They're going to call you KK no matter what. They're going to call you racist no matter what. No matter what you do. Even if every single one of their 8 kids grew up eating off of your family being taxed to pay for it, they're still going to hate you. They're still going to say you're oppressing them. Even if they're not a slave, their daddy wasn't a slave, their daddy's daddy wasn't a slave, their daddy, it's still going to be the excuse. 500 years from now, it'll still be the excuse. So I say, stop caring about it. Stop caring. Stop bending over backwards for everybody. Stop caring. Just be like, yeah, I'm going to do it this way. You don't like it? I don't care. You know, just stop caring, because there's nothing you can do to appease them. And why are you trying? That's one thing. We just want to be the friendliest people in the world. We just want to be friends with everybody. We just want everybody to like us. But they're not going to. They're going to hate us because they ain't us. I mean, that's a lot of it, really. A lot of it is we actually all descend from Charlemagne. We actually descend from kings. We actually were the Romans and Greeks. We actually were the Vikings. We actually, so we actually built the cathedrals. We actually still are the ones building things. So, I don't know. I'm just being like, I don't know. I got on this morning. I was complaining too much. They said I was complaining too much. I was like, I'm not going to do that when I get off work. This will be a Paul's happy video, and it's like Paul don't understand why he wasn't canceled 4 videos ago, so he's trying to cancel himself now. I guess I don't know. I used to not feel this way. I used to not think this way, and it really wasn't nobody in my family that got me to think this way. Sure, I had some great grandparents that was kind of racist, but not my parents, not my grandparents, And they all believed in egalitarianism. They all believed everybody had the same, like everybody's a blank slate, starts off with the same potential. And we grew up in the lie, and we were taught the lie. And I lived the lie, and it's all around. But, eventually reality slaps you in the face. Like, how much money, how much money are we going to pump into the Congo before we realize they're not like us? And then how many countries are going to let the Jews move in before they figure out? I don't know. I don't know. When I was when I read that comment yesterday, folks, yesterday night, where they said that using big words was an act of white supremacy. That's like the final straw for me. And it was, and I read that right after an African American woman claiming that Native Americans spoke English and white people stole English from them. Like, that's the thing that, like, Brittany, I don't think gets, and maybe my YouTube watchers don't get. Y'all don't see the information that I watch, that I have pop up in my feed. Like, a lot of what I say is a reaction to just being bombarded with bullshit all day long. And I'm a lover of the truth. So, like, the first time I saw a world map of IQ, I thought, this is probably they probably doctored this. I don't know about all this. And I saw a bunch of them. And then I started looking into the studies and who took the studies and how many studies were done. And it's like, they've got the information. They don't like the information. And they're doing their best to try to make it more egalitarian, to make a world IQ map more equal. They're trying. They make the test easier and easier. They're like, okay, well, maybe they didn't understand the cultural references or this. Let's go teach a bunch of students. Let's teach them all this stuff. Let's teach them all these concepts. Let's give them the test. Oh, they're still testing 65 IQ. Like, what the hell? We'll try again next year. It's not a conspiracy. It's just the way it really is. And when you understand that, so much makes sense. I mean, it really, a lot of history will make sense. A lot of innovation will make sense. A lot of geopolitics will make sense. You know, when you, and also, there was a barrier, you know, like, people didn't have to feel the pain of it, you know, because the IQ, if you have a 65 IQ and you're standing next to somebody with 120 IQ, that's painful. And it's very apparent, the difference, you know. And then if you have to compete, if you have to live in a society and it's like half of the town has an IQ of 65 and the other half has an IQ of 120, that's going to be hard to deal with and cope with, right? Nature didn't have it that way. Congo, 65. Around the Congo, 70, 75. You get up to where the Arabs are, 85 IQ. You know, you go into the Southern Europeans, you get to the 90. You go up into the German, they got 100. You know, there was a buffer. You was about as smart as the guy beside you. But then we took a population of people with an IQ average of 100 and a population of people with an average IQ of 65 and 70, and we put them right beside each other. And then somebody's going to outcompete somebody, and then the explanation is racism and oppression. No, the explanation, the real explanation is IQ disparity. Y'all are not as smart. But then African Americans are smarter than sub-Saharan Africans, but they're a third European by DNA. They're mixed with whites. That's why their average IQ is 85, not 65. But with that being the average, only 20% of African Americans have an IQ above 80. That's why they're having such a hard time in these all-black schools with the literacy rates. That's why. You're never going. You could send as many white teachers with good hearts trying to fix the problem as possible, but it's inherited. Now, let's say that they realize it's true. Like, this might really help black people. A lot of black people probably have already turned the channel. They're not even going to listen, right? But imagine, like, if I was black, I'd want to know the truth. And I'd want to realize it. Because then you could do something about it. You could say, oh, wait, that's an average. That's not all of us. You know, then the women could say, let's go find the black guy with an, I'm only going, instead of saying I'm only going to be with a black guy with a big dick that's taller than 6 foot tall or whatever, they could say, wait a minute, our biggest weakness is low IQ. Let's fix that. Let's all our women be chasing the black guy, whoever's the black guy with an IQ of 100 or above. Let's let him be the baby daddy. You know, and the IQ would go up. They could do something about it. But if you tell them it's all the same, you're really hurting them. You're not doing it because you have a good heart. You're being selfish. You don't want them to get mad at you. You don't want there to be conflict. You don't want to hurt nobody's feelings. So let's just pretend it's not true. What's that? Where does that get them in 1,000 years? Where does that get us in 1,000 years? The truth can hurt you once, but then you can do something about it. So, like, there's a group of women, and one of them's getting really fat, and they're all like, "You look great, you look great." Are they being nice to her? No. They want her to get fat. She's a competition. They want to get the men. If she gets fatter and fatter and fatter, she ain't taking the man away from them. Also, they don't really want to deal with the discomfort to hurt her feelings and make her cry. Well, what if you just tell her the truth? You're getting fat. Your dating prospects are going to shrivel up. Maybe you should do something about that. Then they can do something about it. So I'm saying, like, a lot of times, the most loving people, sometimes they might say some mean-sounding stuff. The people that are the nicest are not the most loving. They're just cowards, or they're selfish. They don't want the negativity. They don't want the conflict. So they're just talking nice to get along. There's two kinds of people. Now, there is the hater that knows the truth, that uses the truth in hatred. I'm sure there's somebody out there that knows the same information as me. They know the Congo has an average IQ of 65, but they don't want anything good for the Congo. And they're coming from a place of hate. And they're saying the same thing I am, but they're haters. And they're like, I'm going to bully you and pick on you and put you down for that. That's not where my heart is. That's not where I'm coming from. But we live in a multicultural, multiracial society. So it has multicultural, multiracial problems. And if you want to fix those problems, you got to know what they are to start working on the solution. But you can't work on the solution if you never address the problem. Hello, unknown. I think that I've said too much. Not that I've just said too much of the same thing. I have no purpose or plan for the live. And so I'm going to end it because there's plenty of content in this. And so, hey, everybody, and I'm ending the stream. Drank my coffee and wait on Brittany.